Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. I hope your day and your week are going very well so far. The NFL Divisional round is officially upon us, and we've got some really great matchups in this week's slate. For today's video, I'm going to be covering the Washington Commanders Detroit Lions Saturday night matchup. Two elite offenses going head to head. And as always, guys, I've got some really great picks to go ahead and share with you. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. We have a ton of great content here on the channel, especially with the NFL playoffs going on. We have individual videos covering each and every game for the NFL playoffs throughout the season through the Super Bowl. We also have tons of NBA content, college football content, all that great stuff. So make sure, if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. All right, guys, with a new day, a new week, and a new video comes new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. And I wasn't kidding earlier when I said these are two of the best offenses in the NFL this year. The Washington Commanders ranked 6th in the NFL in terms of offensive DVOA. The Detroit Lions ranked 3rd in the NFL in terms of offensive DVOA. The spread for this game is set at 9.5 points, and the over-under currently at the time of recording is set at 55.5, a pretty high total for a playoff game. Like I said, guys, I've got some pretty good picks to go and share with you guys in today's game. But first, before we dive into the videos, let's go ahead and go through a quick little breakdown of the matchup between the Commanders and the Lions. Let's go ahead and share my screen here. Go to our NFL dashboard, which is available to you guys if you become a member over on GuyBostonSports.com. The link is down below in the description to become a member for all sports. I believe it's $3.99 a month. It's less than a Starbucks coffee. You get access to all of our dashboards, all of our exclusive data, content, and data over there as a member on GuyBostonSports.com. But as always, the picks are 100% free. We don't charge for picks. All the picks we hand out in the videos are 100% free. There's no exclusive picks or anything like that over there. It's just more content, more data, more insight to help you guys make better sports betting decisions. So make sure to go ahead and check that out over on GuyBostonSports.com. Looking at the dashboard for this Commanders-Lions game, again, these are two really, really solid teams. Looking at the top of the screen here, just looking at the trends to start with. I mean, Washington and Detroit both over 70% win rates this year, both over 62.5% cover rates this year. And scrolling down, looking at the left side of the screen, like I mentioned at the top of the video, the DVOA rankings, Washington overall the 10th best team in the NFL. In terms of DVOA, offensively, they are the 6th best team, 9th in passing, 7th in rushing. Now, where Washington gets a little bit dicey here is their defense. They rank 23rd in the NFL in terms of DVOA defensively, 20th against the pass, a very bad 26th number against the run. Now, on the Detroit side of things, this is a Lions team that is locked and loaded and one of the heavy favorites to possibly take home the Lombardi Trophy. They are the number 1 seed in the NFC for good reason, with the 2nd best record in the National Football League. Detroit is the 2nd best team in the NFL in terms of DVOA, 3rd best in terms of offense, 6th in passing, 2nd in rushing. And looking at the defensive DVOA, they are 5th in defense overall, 4th against the pass, and 10th against the run. Let's go ahead and talk Washington for a second here. What an impressive run the Commanders are on. Nobody saw this coming. Actually, their odds for the Super Bowl in the preseason were like 150 to 1. I think they're the longest odd team in the playoffs. Nobody, even the most diehard Commanders fans, I don't think anybody saw this coming, including myself. Last week, if you guys watched, unfortunately, that Bucks Commanders video, I obviously had Tampa Bay in that game. I was all over the Bucks. I was wrong. Hand up. This Washington team just continues to surprise me, and where I thought they'd have a disadvantage from lack of experience, from being outcoached potentially, that Bucks team with Baker and Mike Evans, a lot of Super Bowl experience on that team, a lot of playoff experience on that team. But Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders said, we don't care, we don't give a damn about your experience, about your coaching, whatever. We're going to go ahead and show you up on your home field. They dominated time and possession. They held the Bucks offensively to 20 points in that game. It did come down to a game-winning field goal, but nonetheless, a very impressive result from Washington. So that's the form that the Commanders are coming into this game with. They're coming off a really impressive road playoff win, some really positive momentum coming into this game. Looking at the Detroit side of things, now this is the Lions team. Again, they only lost 2 games all season long. The Lions only 2 losses this year. You're going to go to the Buffalo Bills back on December 15th, and then there are other loss all the way back on September 15th versus Tampa Bay. The insights provided by Outlier, the Detroit Lions are 13-1, 92.9% in their last 14 games as a favorite. This team is an absolute juggernaut. Look at the offensive numbers here. First in points per game, second in passing yards per game. I mean, green across the board. Minus their pass play percentage, they actually do run the ball a pretty healthy amount. Even defensively speaking, their passing defense has been a little off, mainly because of some injuries to the defense. But overall, this is a really solid team. And if we go ahead and scroll down to the last 3 games data here, again, we see Detroit's defense, a couple red spots there. Again, a lot of that has to do with some of the key injuries the Lions have sustained throughout the season. But offensively, they haven't skipped a beat over the last 3 games, and that's pretty impressive considering that they've had some injuries on the offensive side too, losing running back David Montgomery. I could go on and on and on, guys. There's a lot of great data to support both of these sides in this game. Ultimately, let's start looking at where the advantages are going to be in this matchup. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think Detroit clearly has some advantages in this matchup. I know, I bet against Washington last week, and I got humbled. But I'm going to be honest here. A lot of the reasons why I liked Tampa Bay last week are going to carry over here for this Lions matchup. Look, Dan Quinn has done an incredible job with this Commanders team, turning this team around, getting this team to where they are, despite the fact that this is not really a very talented team. And yes, they have Jaden Daniels, who is obviously clearly the rookie of the year, has been incredible this year. But besides him, they have a couple pieces here and there. But this Commanders team haven't even really stacked the squad yet. They have the 3rd most cap space in the NFL this offseason. I said it in my Commanders-Bucks video. This Commanders team is going to be a force in the NFL for years to come. That being said, though, they are a little green here. Dan Quinn, he does have experience. He coached the Atlanta Falcons, got to a Super Bowl. We all remember 28-3, especially as a Pats fan. You can see the Pat Patriot helmet in the background. I remember 28-3 very fondly. But Dan Quinn has done an incredible job in this spot. But we do have to remember, and I know Jaden Daniels, he obviously had a massive game versus Tampa Bay. He is a rookie quarterback on the road in enemy territory. I saw a stat, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was like Jaden Daniels is the 4th rookie quarterback ever, or maybe in the last 25 years, to win a road playoff game as a rookie. I can't remember the exact statistic. I think it was like Mark Sanchez, Russell Wilson, and someone else. Like Jaden Daniels was an Mark Sanchez, elite company. My point being, what Jaden Daniels did last week versus Tampa Bay is unprecedented. It hasn't happened too often where a rookie quarterback goes on the road in a playoff environment and wins a game. Led them on a game-winning drive. Really impressive stuff. The key difference this time around is I think Detroit is a completely different beast in comparison to Tampa Bay. Now, Detroit's defense has been shaky of late, and actually their numbers over the last 3 games do look comparable to where Tampa Bay's pass defense was overall this year. But I think we can all say, without a doubt, even as they are injured, I think Detroit is still a better defensive bet than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think there's also a big difference of playing a road playoff game in Tampa Bay, Florida in the middle of January and playing a road playoff game in Detroit, Michigan in the middle of January. You got a cold, very hostile, not to say Bucs fans aren't rowdy, but Lions fans are a different breed. They're definitely one of the higher fan bases in the NFL, especially now where they're good. These Lions fans are going to come out and they are going to make that stadium rocking. The Lions have a better coach team. They're the more talented team. You know, yes, they have the one weak point is obviously the injuries on the defense. They maybe can be attacked there, but overall, I just think Washington, it's just too much to overcome. This team in Detroit, even taking into account all the weeks where they had injuries, this team was top 5 in both offensive and defensive DVOA this season. And Washington, as great as their offense is, I just don't think that defense is going to hold up. And it should be noted that look at the away versus home numbers. Washington on the road this year, their offense has still been solid. Obviously, top 10 scoring offense, but their passing game, 20th in passing yards per game when they're on the road. This is the key one, though, the time of possession, because that's where Washington really won that game last week, was the fact that they held the ball for over 35 minutes. Baker Mayfield only had 18 passing attempts in that game. They held the Bucs to 20 points, not because they were dominant and they stopped Baker Mayfield and forced him into bad situations. They stopped him because they didn't give him the football. He completed 15 of 18 of his passes for 2 touchdown passes, no picks, and had over 180 yards passing on 15 completions. Baker Mayfield had success throwing the football. The problem last week was that he just didn't have enough passing attempts. He didn't have the football long enough to go ahead and throw the ball more and make more plays. I don't think Washington is going to be able to dominate the time of possession in this matchup like they did last week versus Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay at home, 7th best mark in the NFL, averaging 31 minutes, 28 seconds average time of possession. Washington on the road, 23rd in the NFL, 29 minutes, 25 seconds average time of possession. Especially in the playoffs, especially in these tight games, the time of possession stuff definitely matters. Clock management, all that stuff is very important at this point in the season. So enough rambling here, guys. My first pick in today's video comes from DraftKings. We're doing a 2-leg parlay, minus 135 odds. We're going Lions alternate spread, minus 4.5, and Lions team total over 29.5 points. Now, I'm sure some of you are going to look at that parlay and look at that pick and think this is a cop-out pick. He doesn't want to take the spread. He doesn't want to take the total. And you're absolutely right. Look, as much as I just hyped up Detroit, this Washington team is really solid, and they have a little bit of a weird sort of Cinderella feel to them. Watching them last week and seeing how Jaden Daniels played, I would feel more comfortable taking this parlay than to bet the spread and the overall total at where they're at. 9.5 points is a lot of points, and I understand they're in Detroit. They're coming off the bye week. They have that extra week of rest. They had some of their guys get healthier. They got David Montgomery back for this game, obviously, but I have a legitimate reason to be concerned about 9.5 points. I think no matter what, Detroit wins this game, absolutely. I just think 9.5 points to win this game by double digits, with the way that Jaden Daniels played last week, with the way that Washington offense looks this year, I just have my doubts about that line. And you look, the Lions defense, the last time we saw them versus Minnesota, they had a really solid performance, 31-9. They clinched the 1 seed. They held that Vikings offense that was coming in that game on really great form and held them to only 9 points. But we now have an extra game of data. We saw what Minnesota did versus the Rams in the wild card round last week, and they also pooped their pants in that game as well. So you have to wonder how much of that last Lions-Vikings game was this Lions defense is really back, and how much of it was Sam Darnold and the Vikings offense had just finally hit the end of their rope and their offense had just fallen apart. I still have legitimate question marks regarding this Lions defense. Are they back? Are they healthy enough to have that solid top 10 defense in terms of DVOA? Or is this a defense we've seen like when they played the 49ers and gave up 34 points and Brock Purdy looked like an MVP quarterback again? So we're taking Lions alternate spread minus 4.5 as the first leg of the parlay here. They cashed this at a 65% hit rate overall this year, 71% hit rate against the spread in general. But they covered this line of minus 4.5 in 65% of their games. Yes, they had a couple of misses here and then. You see here, this is kind of where the injuries start to pile up. Those 3 NFC North games, or 2 NFC North games in the Buffalo game, is where they had a little streak where they weren't covering this number. But overall, this team should be able to cover minus 4.5 against this Commanders team. We do have the insights provided by Outlier. The Lions are 22-8-1, a 71% hit rate against the spread in their last 31 games as a favorite. Now that's at the line of minus 9.5. If we go ahead and take this down to where we're getting it at minus 4.5 here, excuse me one moment. The Lions are covering the spread of minus 4.5 at a 71% hit rate over their last 31 games. That, of course, dates back to last year. But really good numbers across the board here for this line of minus 4.5. Detroit has the clear advantage. They are the better team here. They have the home field advantage, the rest advantage. Detroit is winning this game. Make no mistake of that. Detroit is 100% winning this game. I just think 9.5 might be too many points to go ahead and tail Detroit. As for the second leg of the parlay, going with the Lions team total over 29.5 points, we got some pretty solid data here. A 59% hit rate on the year for Detroit. 10 out of 17 games, they've cashed that team total over and scored 30 points. They're averaging 33.18 points per game this season. Narrow it down to the last 5 games, we got some really good numbers here. 100% hit rate to close out the year for Detroit over their last 5 games. 36.2 points per game. The one thing that hasn't faltered all year long has been this Detroit offense. They have been solid all season long. I thought about now basically what this parlay is. It's kind of like a teaser. It's an alternate kind of teaser where we're just taking some numbers off the lines. Ultimately, why I didn't touch the overall total is because I honestly don't know what to do with that line, right? I thought about taking a touchdown off and making the over at like, let's say 48.5 or 49.5. But then there's a real possibility where maybe we do get an under game. Maybe the Lions dominate them. They come out, they score most of the points, but Washington doesn't score a ton. Remember, Washington only scored 23 points in that Bucs game. So as great as their offense is, as bad as the Bucs defense was, Washington didn't really go crazy in that game from a scoring perspective. And Detroit defensively is definitely better. So there is a real scenario where I could see this game, to bet the over 40.5, we could end up being like a 30-14 game for Detroit, or you go and take the over at, let's say, the under, excuse me. That's the case for the over. So, in the case that we took the over 48.5, perhaps the game finishes 30-14 and I'm screwed there. I also thought, hey, let's take the alternate under at, let's say, 62 or 62.5. The problem there is maybe this is a shootout game. Maybe this is a game where both teams score a healthy amount of points, but they just can't get to that total because, again, Washington can't contribute enough points. So ultimately, where I come out of this game with is I think Detroit scoring 30 points is a good bet. It protects us where, let's say Detroit does, now again, I know I took the spread minus 4.5. Let's say the Lions do blow out the Commanders here, and the Commanders don't contribute enough in the scoring department. At least Detroit cover their number, even if the over doesn't hit. Maybe that sounded confusing. Maybe I just confused the hell out of all you guys by my little ramble there, but I do think Lions team total over 29.5 points is the right move. I think regardless of the outcome of the score here, like if they win by a touchdown, if they win by 10, if they win by 4, win by 4.5, whatever, I think the Lions are scoring 30 points in this game. The Commanders' defense is really not that good. Detroit also having Montgomery back, they're one of the best rushing teams in the NFL, and this is, like I said, one of the worst run defenses in the NFL in terms of DVOA in Washington. So I think we've got a pretty good spot in our hands here with this parlay. Again, it's minus 135 odds. I know it's not the most valuable pick in the pot, but it is a pretty solid parlay. I think it's a good chance to go ahead and hit. All right, guys, we don't have too much long in this video. I know I've been going on for a little while here. These playoff videos, we're going to go a little bit more in depth because it's the playoffs. This is the only video I'm doing this week for NFL, so I'm going to spend more time talking about this game. Our second pick is a player prop here. We're going Jahmyr Gibbs of the Detroit Lions over 113.5 rushing plus receiving yards, which we're getting for minus 110 odds over on DraftKings. Now, the overall data for Gibbs on this prop is okay. A 41% hit rate on the year for Jahmyr Gibbs. 7 out of 17 games he's cashed the over, averaging 113.47 rushing plus receiving yards per game. However, if we go ahead and narrow this down to the last 5 games, he really got in form going into the playoffs. I know part of this has to do with the fact that David Montgomery obviously was out the last 3 weeks of the season, but even looking at the regular season, some of the misses, I mean, he got close to this line many times. So yes, even though he missed it here and there, I do think overall, it's a good spot, and it's a really good matchup, like we talked about, versus running backs this year. The Washington Commanders 29th in the NFL in terms of rushing yards allowed to running backs. They're giving up on average 114.3 rushing yards per game to the running back position. And David Montgomery hasn't played in almost a month here, over a month actually. So I don't know how much, obviously, maybe he's well rested. Maybe they give him a healthy amount of carries. I think that Gibbs is obviously the heavy back. He's going to get the majority of the work here in this spot. And with the matchup, even Bucky Irving last week, we took his over in rushing yards. We didn't end up hitting, but he had 77 rushing yards on 17 carries. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is way better than Bucky Irving. You also add the receiving element to it. I think we got a pretty good spot here. Again, last 5 games, 4 straight cashes to close out the season, averaging 134.8 rushing plus receiving yards per game over the last 5 games. Even looking down at the run share here, the target share, Jahmyr Gibbs, 4th most targeted player in this offense, 12.1% target share. The rushing attempts, he's obviously number 1, 46.8% run share. Obviously, the injury to Montgomery kind of limits his number. I think they pretty much 50-50 in terms of splits. I just think given the Commanders matchup, and let's go ahead and see the last 3 game numbers for the Commanders' rushing defense here. Right here, last 3 games, rushing yards per game, 29th in the NFL. They're giving up 162.3 rushing yards per game over their last 3 games. So teams are having a lot of success running the football on this Commanders team. Detroit, one of the best rushing offenses in the NFL. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a really big day. And if you've been watching my single game bet videos, guys, every video I close it out with an anytime touchdown player prop. We do a giveaway every video as well. We actually did hit last week, Mike Evans, anytime touchdown. We did cash this, so one lucky commenter won a free $25 Amazon gift card. The contest is very simple, guys. All you have to do is comment the name or some variation, whether it be his last name, his nickname, whatever, in the comments down below for the player I pick for a touchdown player prop. And if he scores a touchdown, if he cashes this prop, one lucky commenter that comments his name will win a free $25 Amazon gift card. So for today's player prop, to close out the video, my final pick, we're going Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions, anytime touchdown. I know it's not very super valuable. It's minus 125 over on DraftKings, but I think it's just a really surefire bet here. 65% hit rate overall this year for Amon-Ra St. Brown. 11 out of 17 games, he scored a touchdown, averaging 0.71 touchdown receptions per game this year. He's by far and away the most targeted player on this team, 27% target share for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Even red zone targets, number 1, 34.8% target share. If anyone's cashing a touchdown, he's a really good bet to go ahead and do that. And I know from a passing standpoint, the Commanders are technically a better pass defense than they are a run defense. Look at their defensive numbers, actually, their overall average in terms of passing yards allowed. They're actually the 3rd best team in the NFL in terms of passing yards per game, only giving up 189.5 passing yards per game on average this year. But I'm not buying it. I watched Mike Evans sun this team last week. 7 catches, 92 yards, and a touchdown last week. In a game where Baker Mayfield only threw the football 18 times. The Commanders are lucky he didn't throw it more, because if he did, Mike Evans would have an even bigger line. Mike Evans dominated them last week when they did throw the football his way. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown, I don't know if I would say he's better than Mike Evans. I'd say he's on the same tier as Mike Evans. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown could also have a pretty big game against this secondary here. I think him to score a touchdown is a pretty solid spot. So that's the 3rd and final play in today's video. All right, guys, that is it from me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching. One more time, guys, please make sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Again, I know it was a longer video. Evan's been doing it too. We've all been doing sort of these longer single game videos for the NFL playoffs. I hope you did enjoy some of the insights, some of the conversations, some of the stats and data and information coming from this game. I'll be back next week at some point. We haven't really figured out what we're going to do. Obviously, starting next week, we only have 2 games left. We might each, obviously Ev's probably going to cover both games. I might throw in my insight into one game. We haven't really figured out that, but I will have some video, some form of an NFL video next week. So until then, guys, hope you're all winners. Enjoy the divisional round weekend. Got a lot of great games, including this one here. Let's go ahead and make some money.